Pod in My Noggin, hosted by CK Sims, creating a platform to elevate, educate, and heal by creating a space where people can share their stories of struggle, triumph, and redemption. CKS Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pod in My Noggin. I'm your host, CK Sims, and this week we are joined by maybe a love guru, maybe a grief guru, maybe a little bit of both, maybe someone who can live in the moment, or someone who can help you live a life worth living. Kim Sorrelle, welcome to the show.
CK, it is my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for this honor of having me.
Oh my gosh, I think the honor is mine, and I appreciate that very much. You have very kind words to say, and they mean a lot. Listen, I have some questions, and I love your whims. I love the red dress. Not gonna lie, it pops on the background. So for anybody at home, you can check out kimsorrelle.com. So that's KIMSORRELLE.com. I'll link it in the description. Kim, take us back a little while, just before the life event that changed everything. What was life like for you?
Life was great. Life was wonderful. My husband and I had just become empty nesters. And I'll tell you what, I love my husband and I love my kids. But for whatever reason, I was so looking forward to having the kids out of the house and it just being my husband and I. I don't know what it is you do when you're empty nesters, if you run around the house naked or what, but whatever it was, I was excited to do it. I was so looking forward to it. And so life was great. My husband and I worked together and we coached together. We did everything together. And
So coaching as in similar to what you're doing now, or?
No, varsity sports, varsity volleyball, and I coach basketball too.
Oh, I love this. That's so cool. And so you're just fresh empty nesters. Life was wonderful. It was beautiful. But and did you, when you think back to that time, do you feel that you were at all complacent in that moment of your life?
I really don't think so because I was so anticipating this new chapter, this new whatever it was going to look like that I don't think I was real complacent. We were on the go way too much to be complacent. We were doing too many things. And fortunately we traveled, we didn't like wait to travel like some people do. And we had all kinds of fun. I don't think I ever took life for granted. I had enough major life events before this, like my mom committing suicide, kids with big health problems, whatever, several things that I learned pretty early on that life is a gift and every day is a gift. And, you might hear that, but it's one thing to know it and it's one thing to live it and really believe it. And I just know that it's true.
I find that profoundly beautiful. And I too know that it's true through life experiences, right? You live in the moment or try to. Sometimes we get a little off to the side, but just relish in having the life that you have and working in it and that sort of thing. And so you had your adversity is what I always say is, you've gone through your adversity and this is how you've become this beautiful human. And typically the nicest people or the kindest people that you meet have faced great adversity in their lives. So here's a question. You already knew adversity, but adversity wasn't done with you yet.
Right. I think I used to think that my life could be like a TV reality show. Like something happens, then something happens. And then when something happens, I think, well, that's going to be the last thing. So now it couldn't be a show, but then something else happens and it just kind of is the way it is. And I think life is so much more about how we react to things than the things that actually happen in our lives. And so I went kicking and screaming to a mammogram because I was sure there was no cancer, no breast cancer in my family. I was 47 years old. I had no signs or symptoms. I thought it was a way for the medical world to get extra money from women. It's painful. It's not exciting. There's nothing great about going. And my doctor convinced me to go. And that led to an ultrasound, that led to a biopsy, that led to a phone call at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon saying, blah, 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 you have breast cancer, blah, blah, blah. I was in shock. I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah. That's big. And then how did did you share with your family right away? How did your
Yeah,
husband react?
yes. The first thing I did was I called my husband. My husband was at work. I was at home. I had a grandbaby in the bathtub, actually. And so he was with me, and I called my husband, and I could barely get out words. I was sobbing. I mean, cancer, any kind of cancer, it's such a scary word. And I couldn't call back and ask questions. I mean, there was nothing. It was like, we'll call you on Tuesday. It was Friday afternoon. The office is closed. So I didn't know what to do. I was at such a loss. I called my husband. I'm sobbing and, barely get the words out. It felt like he was there in an instant. And you know what, CK? My husband did the exact right thing. Before this, I never would have known what that is, the exact right thing, but he did it. And he just came home. He ran to me and he just held me. He just held me. We just held each other and just for the longest time. And that was exactly what we both needed in that moment.
So you have your diagnosis. You don't have answers, but you do have your husband holding you. How long was it after that you found the next
Well,
sort of?
yeah. So shortly after I was diagnosed, my husband started having stomach pain. And he went to the doctor and they said, oh, you're just nervous because of Kim. Just take some Rolaids, Tums, whatever. 2 months later, things were not any better, getting worse even. And he went back to the doctor again. And the doctor said, I really think this is all it is, but I'll schedule you with a gastro guy, right? So 2 months after that, so 4 months after my diagnosis, he had his appointment at the gastro guy. And I'm the mouth of the clan here, like he was much quieter than I was. I'm going to ask all the questions. I'm going to be the one wanting to know everything, right? And I couldn't go with him to the doctor because the next day I was having a complete hysterectomy because of the kind of breast cancer I had. And I was having a colonoscopy because of the kind of breast cancer I had. So I was doing, if you've ever done a colonoscopy, you do not leave your home the day
No,
before.
no.
You don't go too many feet from your bathroom, right? So there was just no possible way I could go with him. And he came home and I'm waiting, waiting, waiting. And he saw a PA who said, you just have a nervous stomach, just take some Rolaids. And I was so upset that the timing was so bad that I couldn't be there and say, run a test, do something. He knows this feels different. Listen to your patient, anything. But it was so kind, too kind, maybe, because he didn't say run a test. He didn't say anything. So the next day I had surgery. They found bladder cancer, whatever. So my recovery was a little bit longer. And so a week after my surgery, I'm still in pants that have an elastic waist. I'm still laying in bed watching Grey's Anatomy reruns. And I wake up in the morning and my husband was awake and he was in pain. And I said, that's it. Go to the ER. At least they'll run a test. They'll do something. So he took himself to the emergency room. And my husband was a rule follower. So if it said no cell phones, he did not use his cell phone. So I'm waiting, waiting, waiting for a call. Finally, he calls and he said, I guess they're going to keep me overnight. And I'm like, keep you overnight? They don't keep anybody overnight. And so I put on like real people clothes and I jumped in my car and in my Vicodin induced state drove like a bat out of hell to get to the hospital. And shortly before I was there, my phone rang again. And he said, I guess there's a spot on my liver. And I'm like, spot on your liver. I just started bawling. I just started weeping. And I don't really remember parking. I do remember running in, kind of holding all parts of me because everything hurt, asking where he was. And he was behind a curtain. And I ran back there and I whipped back the curtain as I'm sobbing. And he's sitting on the edge of the bed like nothing is going on. And I'm a mess. And he looked at me and he said, listen, I am not going to invite you out anymore if this is the way you're going to behave. And I said, listen, buddy, you are so not allowed to be funny right now. And like with any diagnosis, you don't get it in a day. So it took, running tests and all kinds of things. And it was 4 or 5 days before we got his diagnosis of pancreatic cancer.
Wow. That's a lot in 4 months.
Yeah.
Right? So you had breast cancer, but then I think you just said during the colonoscopy, they found that you had
Bladder cancer.
cancer.
Yeah.
And then now your husband has pancreatic cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's so much. It feels like so much in such a short period of time. And then, Kim, what happens next?
Well, we knew what that diagnosis meant because we went through it 2 years prior with my father-in-law. My father-in-law was diagnosed almost 2 years to the day before my husband. And they didn't think it was related or inherited because my husband was so much younger. I was 47. He was 51 years old. He was 6'3", 175 pounds, very fit, very active, ate great. Although he did say that donuts were the fifth food group. So I don't know where that puts him exactly, but he was in such great shape that they said, well, probably a year, maybe longer than a year, you're going to break the odds because you're so young and healthy that you're going to be okay. You're going to be here for a while. But we decided that we were just going to stay home. We were just going to hunker down and stay home together. And one of my sons was in our family business, was working for us. And so he came over and said, you guys just stay home and I'll take care of the business. Don't worry about a thing. And so we did. And we had the greatest time. We watched Cash Cab. We watched old movies and football games and played gin rummy and just had this incredible 6 weeks together. And, when we left the doctor's office with his diagnosis, we knew that pancreatic cancer is supposed to be the most painful cancer of all the cancers. And I believe in a God. And we just prayed, Lord, either heal him like you did the deaf, the blind, the lame, or the ultimate, I believe in heaven of heaven, but please don't let him suffer. Our prayer was just, please don't let him suffer. So we had this great 6 weeks together and had fun and it was wonderful. And then on a Sunday morning, I woke up because he was making some noise and we had no hospital equipment. We had nothing. I mean, we were just living life and woke up because he was making noise. And I looked over, I could tell he was in pain. I called a hospice nurse. She was there in a flash and she gave him some more morphine to help him with his pain. And it hurt so bad to lay down that he was sitting on the edge of the bed. And so I was behind him, holding onto him. I didn't want him to fall off the bed. And the hospice nurse was in our bedroom on the phone calling for a commode and a hospital bed and, whatever. And I looked at her and I said, do I call my kids? And she said, no, you've got lots of time, probably weeks, if not months. This is early. You've got plenty of time. And a little while later, just with holding him and feeling his agony, I asked her again, are you sure? Are you sure I shouldn't call my kids? And she said, oh, no, I'm telling you, you've got a lot of time. And then because he was so miserable, I whispered in his ear and I said, baby, just go. And he never took another breath.
Wow. Not to keep it in, but it sounds to me like there was such bravery and courage on both your parts throughout that whole process. And even to the very end, there was you to whisper in his ear and tell him to just go. That's That's bravery and courage. Because I think as humans, we typically want to cling, we want to hang on, we want to
Mm.
steal every possible last moment that we can. But I think it's also, and we're going to talk about this, an example of real love when you can put your own self aside and give him permission to just go, right?
Right.
Kim, that's a lot for anybody to deal with. And I think it's new to me too. I didn't realize that pancreatic cancer was incurable.
Mm. Hmm.
I didn't know this, to be honest with you. So wow, how did you feel? Like we're gonna move on to what happens next, but like in that moment with you and your family, how did you feel?
I wailed. I cried from the bottom of my toes, the depths of my soul. I just wailed. Because it was so painful, because you mentioned love. I love that man. We loved each other. He was such a great husband. He was a great father. He was just a great man. He was a great friend. People loved him more than they loved me, I think. But he was such a great guy. And we had a wonderful relationship. We had a wonderful almost 29 years together. Got married when I was 18 years old. Never regretted it for a moment. Like, people say, oh, I got married too young, whatever. No, I mean, we grew up together, and I didn't regret that at all. It was the best thing. And so it was painful. Man, it just hurt. It hurt so bad.
We're gonna take a quick break, everybody. We'll be back in just a moment.
Life in Stitches by C.K. Sims. Available for purchase in paperback and ebook on all major platforms. Partner today with C.K. Sims and Pod and My Noggin to get in front of an audience that cares. You will be supporting mental health stories, tales of resilience, and uplifting content, aligning your brand with bringing goodness, authenticity, and kindness front and center. This spot could be yours. Do you have a story of struggle and resilience? One that you want to share with others and possibly help someone through their own struggles? Find the link in the show description and fill out the guest form today.
Welcome back, everyone, to Pod and My Noggin. Before the break, we went down memory lane with Kim Sorrelle. Not a very pleasant memory lane, if I will say. Very painful memory lane. But it had some sort of impact on you, because I think what comes next was transformational.
100%.
How did you get from grieving your husband and the love that you had, which was so evident in everything that you talked about, the fact that you took 6 weeks and just hunkered down and played gin rummy and watched Cash Cab and old movies. Like you were fully there for each other in that 6 week period. How did you go from grieving wife and a mother with a grieving family to ending up in Haiti? What happened there?
Yeah. You don't think that's the normal track, that people just go to Haiti after they lose their
You know,
husbands?
it's interesting because I don't think there is a normal track. I think society would like you to believe that there's a normal track,
Mm.
but grief is so complex and it's different for everybody. So whatever somebody does to try and survive and move through that's their story, right?
Oh, 100%, 100%. And we shouldn't judge other people's grief. Let people grieve however it is that they grieve. And never tell anybody to get over it. You never get over it. You might get on top of it, but you don't get over it. But so I did have some decisions to make. I still had some cancer stuff I had to deal with. I wasn't done with my journey when my husband passed away. And so I still was dealing with some things. But I had to decide. I had to decide, am I going to stay in this deep grief, or am I going to live fully and completely? And I thought, I didn't choose this. I never would have chosen this. We were supposed to be in our 90s on rockers on a front porch sipping lemonade or whatever people in their 90s do on a front porch, right? We weren't supposed to be, I wasn't supposed to be 47 years old and widowed. Like, nothing about it made sense to me. Uh, but I did know that I wanted to live the best life I could to really honor my husband. He was so good to me. I wanted to make sure that I was honoring to him and the life that I served. And so it made me question some things. Like, I thought, well, how do I know? How do I know that I'm really living right, that I'm doing this life thing right? And I thought, well, everything is about love. Love is everything. And so if I lived love, then I would be living right. So I decided I needed to figure out what that meant to live love. And when I was ready to go back to work, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I ran into a guy who was running a nonprofit that I used to run. And I said, "Hey, do you need any help?" And he said, "Yeah, what?" And I said, "What about part-time bookkeeper?" Because I didn't know at that point in time if I was going back into the businesses, back into the nonprofit world, what I was going to do. And he said, "Oh yeah, part-time bookkeeper, that would be great." So a few days later, January 1st, I started as part-time bookkeeper. And 12 days later, there was an earthquake in Haiti that killed 200,000 people. So within 2 weeks, I was in Haiti. And then for the next several years, I was in Haiti at least part of every month uh, for the next several years, working and helping. And that's where I decided to do this journey. I decided I'd dedicate a year to figuring out the true meaning of love. Like, I was going to go full in. And CK, I'll be honest with you, I go out for dinner. I have a hard time committing to an entree. So to commit a year to something was like way over my pay grade. Like, I didn't know how I was possibly going to do this, but I wanted to do it. I felt like I really needed to do it. And I'll tell you what, the things that I found out about love just blew my mind and rocked my world, changed my life. And so it was the best journey I've ever taken. It was definitely worth committing the year to.
So you ended up in Haiti because of the nonprofit?
Yes, right.
Okay, okay. And because that was tragic, what happened in Haiti. I remember that. So you're over your cancer diagnosis, in remission, I guess, if it's the correct sort of term. You're still grieving, but you just up and go to Haiti. Now I know it's a tragedy that happened there, and you went to help, but that's big, no? That's like, what was
Yeah.
the like? I mean, you're landing in devastation
Hmm.
when you go somewhere like that after
Oh,
such a
yeah.
traumatic event. I mean, I can imagine that it helps take your mind off other things. What did you do there?
Well, the organization that I worked for, and then shortly thereafter started running, um, we helped people. Mostly we help people in their own country who have a passion to do something to help people in their own country and need someone to walk alongside. So that's what we did. And so there's no Walmart in Haiti. There's no, really big grocery stores. I mean, it's most of the food is sold on the street. Uh, Most of the water that runs is not clean. If not, all the water is not clean. There's little power, a little bit of electricity in the country. And so you don't just go to a store and buy pencils for a school or buy medical supplies for a medical clinic. So we were shipping big containers of medical supplies, things that you couldn't get in the country, because I totally support buying local, and supporting the local economy. But there were a lot of things that you just couldn't get in the country. You couldn't buy an ultrasound machine, for instance. There's just so many things you couldn't get. So we were shipping 40-foot containers, containers of supplies and relief items to Haiti. And so we had a big warehouse in Grand Rapids. and we got tons of donations, and the hospitals donated everything that they were going to throw away, basically. And then we had organizations, over 250 organizations that we worked with in Haiti, that we were shipping supplies over so that they could have their organization, so they could help people.
I love
So it
that
was
concept.
yeah.
Nonprofit that helps people, right? Because I think
Mhm.
that's really an interesting concept, because I think there's so many people out there who would love to be able to help other people, but they don't know how. And it's the difference between giving, say, change or a $5 bill to a homeless person versus some really grandiose um, gesture. I think where people have blind spots is the in between, like the different things that you can do as a human to help others. I love that type of work. So I mean, like, this is not strange to you. From what I'm learning, is that it seems to me that you throughout life have lived in some form of servitude to others.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The first time I went to a developing nation, my kids were little, and there was a hurricane that went right over Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And man, the devastation there. And so that Christmas, we got on the phone, got lots of donations for supplies and whatever, and we sent four, I think, 40-foot containers down of relief items, blankets. Like, people were just out in the cold, and just out, and had nothing, just absolutely nothing. And so that Christmas, instead of doing Christmas as usual, we took our four kids and we got on a plane and we went to the DR, and we worked down there, and we helped distribute supplies and do whatever we could down there. And I just saw the need. It was the first time really that I was exposed to that. And it was, I don't know however many years ago now, a long time ago, 30 plus years ago. And I was hooked. I mean, I just knew that I've been given so much. I got to start businesses because in the US, that's not so hard to do, and they were successful. And so to give back in return, to do something to help other people, was absolutely what I wanted to be doing. And so we did. I mean, from that moment on, we were very involved in everything that was going on in that project and then that organization. And then, it just kind of grew from there. But, one thing that I learned that I don't think anybody, I know nobody ever told me, and I've never heard anybody talk about it, but service is the greatest healer of grief. When you can get outside of your situation and help other people, whether it's in your backyard, the soup kitchen downtown, whatever it happens to be, when you can get into an atmosphere of service, into a life where you're serving, man, it just healed my grief like nothing else could possibly have done.
Yeah, I totally get that. My wheels are turning. So if you see smoke, don't be alarmed. Uh, but I think for me, it hasn't been grief, but it's been depression.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of going out and doing things for others that wouldn't be able to do for themselves, some form of servitude. And like I said, it doesn't have to be grandiose, and it doesn't have to be super basic. It could be anywhere in the in between. It really does. I think there's two things that happen, because I think when we give, like, we're creating space for more, just naturally, in an energy, a healing, a psychological aspect. But then I think also when we're acting in servitude, in love, or in kindness, we are reframing our current perspective, and we're experiencing the lives of other people. And whether it's conscious or subconscious, I find that we just tend to get a little more grounded and less inside and more outside.
Mm-hmm.
So You said something on your website that really caught my attention. Where was it? I know what it was, so even if I don't find it, you had said even if okay, just two things actually I want to talk about. So you wrote a book, Love Is, a year-long experiment of living out 1 Corinthians 3. So what's in the book?
Well, it's called the love chapter, right? First Corinthians 13. And you hear it at every wedding, your eyes kind of glaze over. Mine certainly did, because you just hear the same old. Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, etc. And I thought, well, shoot, it's saying that love is these things or is not these things, right? And so I decided I would take one word or phrase a month and figure out, well, what is love that is patient? What is love that is kind? And it was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. Like the very first month going into it, love is patient. We know what patience is, right? We're not honking our horn if we're stuck in traffic. We're not mad because our 7-year-old can't find his shoes and late for school, whatever. That's patience. But I discovered if you put love is or love is not in front of any word, it changes the meaning. So if I would have only done the first month, my life would have been changed forever.
That's
But
the thing I was gonna find that I wanted to bring up. Those
yeah,
first 30 days.
yeah, the very first month. So love is patient. So what I discovered that means is that I believe you just should love everybody. It's just the best way to live. Let people be who they believe God has created them to be, who they believe they're here to be. Just let people be themselves, and give people grace as you give yourself grace to be yourself. And we should just love, and we'd be in a whole different world, right? If we just loved each other.
Completely different worlds.
Yeah, yeah, not, oh, I love everybody, but those darn Democrats or those Republicans, well, then you don't love everybody, right?
Well,
But
that's yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, even for me, I always look at it through the lens of kindness, but I think kindness is love, but love is
Hmm.
kindness, like you said, right?
Hmm.
And I always think, I have, I don't like Trump. I don't like the man. I think he's not a good
You
man.
don't have to.
But,
Yeah.
and that's fine, right? That's my
Yeah.
opinion. And as much as I don't like him and I think that he's bad for the world, I would still wish nothing bad to happen to him because he's a
Yeah.
human being. And
Hmm.
because we are, I'm a gay Christian, if you will, because that's a conundrum if you've ever heard one. Um,
Well, hey, I love a gay Christian, so I don't know if that's a conundrum, but here we go. So
here we go.
anyway,
Yes.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so like, and we represent very different spectrums, but that's okay.
Hmm.
Even if he hurts people, even if somebody hurts people, you don't want them to hurt people. You don't want people to get hurt. But you still have to love them because they're human. End of story, right?
Right.
And you're so right. If we could get there as humanity, as a planet, that we just led with love, led with kindness, how wonderful would life be, right?
So
And
different.
yeah, it's so different. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we have to all think alike because we
No.
don't. That would get boring. Life would get boring really quick. One gigantic echo chamber. But just love everybody. So you wrote a book, Love Is. It's the chapter of love. I'm in PK. I'm not sure if you know what that means, pastor's kid,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
so very familiar with that one as well. And yeah, if I stopped 30 days into my journey discovering the true meaning of love, my life still would have been changed forever.
Hmm.
But you
Right.
did stop. You went a year.
Right. Well, and actually, one of the first things I discovered is there's actually 14 is's and isn't of love. So it was 14 months, not even a year. But yeah, that first month just blew my mind. And then month after month after month, it was nothing like I thought it was going to be. And it took me till the end of the month, every month, to kind of get hit over the head with, finally, now I finally get it. I don't know if I was slow or what, but it took something to happen, some big thing to happen where I'd go, finally, now I know what it is. And like love is patient. So if you love everybody like you should, then you love whoever you're with, the person at the grocery store, your spouse, your kid, your neighbor. You love them. You might not like them all the time, but you love them. And because you love them, you show love that is patient by recognizing that this moment right here, right now, is the most important moment of your life. What's in the past is in the past. What's in the future is yet to come. This is the moment. So be fully here, fully present in the moment, which means you are focused on the person you're with. And I'll tell you, CK, I stunk at this. I was horrible. I thought I could be engaged in conversation, think about who had soccer practice later, what I was going to make for dinner, what meeting I had to go to, and understand everything that was being said at the same time. And I realized I do not have that superpower. But I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And when I learned to truly value the person that I was with, love the person I was with in a way that I gave my full attention, man, I'll tell you, my ears opened up. I heard things I never would have heard. And there's so much language that is not verbal.
Yes.
What do they say? 90% or something? I mean, huge percent. So if you're not focused in the moment, you miss all that. Like I learned so much about people that, and instead of, like we like to put labels on people, love doesn't put labels on people, we're, you're CK, I'm Kim, that's all the labels. We might belong to a club or, we might belong to something, but that's not who we are. That just isn't who we are. And it can be easy to make assumptions about what somebody's going to say based on what you know about them and what clubs they might belong to, instead of really listening and just, and I'll tell you too, like confrontations are in the past for me. Like I like a great conversation, and it's okay for people to disagree. In fact, I think it's healthy. It's good. I want to know why people believe the way they believe, because every day leads us to today, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so everything's going to have an influence on why we believe the way we believe. It's interesting when you ask why. Why do you believe that way? But it is so incredible when you are just truly here. And I think about like when I was a young mom, had these little kids running around. I had 4 kids in 4.5 years. So it was a little insane. And my third one, Luke, he used to poke my arm, mom, 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 mom. I think I had a permanent bruise on my arm for the longest time. I'd be on the phone, mom, mom. It wouldn't matter what I was doing. And I think back and I think if I would have just stopped and I would have given him all of me for a moment and just said, Luke, what do you need, buddy? He probably would have said, this truck is red, and then ran away. Like it doesn't mean that it's going to take this forever conversation, right? But give the moments, live the love that is patient. Let the beans burn. Like it's okay.
It's interesting too, because I think I've programmed myself over the last 8.5 years to live through kindness. And one thing, I want to explain this the right way. So when I'm with someone and I'm distracted, and I'm very easily distracted. So like you can't have a television on and try to have a conversation with me because it's just like my brain goes TV in, I'm listening, I'm in that world, nothing exists. So I have 2 best friends, and they know that if they want to have a conversation with me that has any substance whatsoever, turn it off. But I don't turn the TV on. I don't watch it in my house. It's very bizarre, but if it's on, it takes my attention. Anyway, so I have reprogrammed myself to live through kindness. And the thing is that if I have a task, say I'm working and I have a task and someone is messaging me and they need assistance, or they want to run something by me. I've noticed that I've intentionally said, okay, I need about 6-7 minutes to finish what I'm doing, and then we can get on a call. Because I know that if I leave that task, I'm going to lose my rhythm, right? And then if I get in the conversation with them, my mind's going to be on that task. So
Mhm.
I want to give people, I feel that when we speak to people, if we're leading through kindness, we give them our time and our mental space, right?
Mhm.
Exactly what you're saying. We listen to what they say. And you're so incredibly accurate, because I have been all my life, really, but a lot in the last 8.5 years, super aware of people's nonverbal cues and energy. And, I can talk to someone and it's not what people say, it's what people don't say, but they convey through their eyes or their body language or their gestures or mannerisms. And just knowing that people are not 2D, like they are multifaceted and have deep intrinsic stories that all led them to right now the person that's standing in front of you, right? Like
Hmm.
your journey. So love is it's out to purchase, but then there's another one. I'm using a mouse that I unplugged. That's how I'm at the moment. So Cry Until You Laugh. This one
Hmm.
came after.
That one came out first, actually. I started writing when I was diagnosed because I went to the bookstore and everything was either super medical or very depressing. And I wanted to know how it feels. Are there choices I have to make? What is this all about? What is this journey going to be? And so I started writing, kind of as a way to keep up family and friends. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm having surgery on this day, whatever. But it was so much more than that. It was how I was feeling and what was going on in life. And before I knew it, 5,000 people were reading what I was writing, because I was sending through email because it was 15 years ago. And that's what you used to do, not put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
You'd send it via email. And I wrote for a little over a year. So I was still writing all through my husband's diagnosis, losing my husband. So it's the whole journey, my entire journey. And it's just real, and that's what it is. And I just think that the title is because that's what you need to do. Cry, absolutely. But it's okay to laugh again. And it's wonderful when you get to that point that you can laugh again.
I love that too. That's the one I said that really popped out at me. But I both now, after talking to you about love is, and I see it in the background there, that I kind of want to read both of them. But I think, yeah, if you're out there and you're experiencing anything that's remotely similar to what Kim has talked about on today's episode, this would be an excellent book to, because I'm assuming it's a mixture of all of the rough stuff with maybe some comedic parts in it. After only
Yeah.
talking to you for about 45 minutes, but laughter's been a main point in your life, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes. And I laugh at myself a lot. I have to say, I don't always make the wisest choices, in the most dangerous cities in the world. And so, yes, yeah, there's laughter for sure.
So you have, this is amazing. So Heart and Soul, you have a weekly network television show that you host. You listen in on or you can listen in on a conversation between friends talking about life, celebrating the good times, the getting through the tough times, and how faith plays a role. Like, Kim, this is amazing. I love this. What channel can we watch you on?
Well, you can see it on Roku TV, on Apple TV. The network is Bold Brave TV.
Okay.
So I usually tell people the easiest place to find it is on YouTube, Bold Brave TV, Heart and Soul, Kim Sorrelle. And it's fun. I love meeting people. I think we're kindred spirits. I think we could hang out, you and I, and be
Uh,
best friends. And like you like having conversations with people. I do too. I love learning people's stories and learning about them. And I always learn. You learn from other people's stories, right? And so I love it. It's fun to do for sure.
I'm going to look it up literally when we're done and watch it. And lastly, but definitely not least, you have Love is Podcast.
Mhm.
So all of these things can also be found on kimsorrelle.com. Both books you can check out there. You're also a coach, a love mentor,
Mhm.
right?
True. True.
So you can book to speak with Kim Sorrelle directly on our website. And if you head over there, you can get a free gift. It's a download on love and loss, and it's a memory box instruction. And I think that sounds just absolutely lovely to have a memory box to help heal and celebrate someone you've lost.
Yeah.
So many things. It was absolutely wonderful getting to chat with you today, Kim. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
What
you so
next
much.
for you?
Oh, goodness, what's next for me? I get to do all kinds of fun stuff. I'm going to walk the Camino Trail in a year. I bought a treadmill for my desk so that I'm walking every day a lot because you walk a lot on the Camino Trail. I speak, so I travel a lot for speaking, and I'm living life. I love it. I've got 11 grandbabies to cuddle and hold and love on, and it's just fun. Life is great.
I love that. I love that. So there really is hope after all. As we close out today's show, I want to read something that you wrote. Okay. So my message to others is simple yet profound. Never underestimate your own strength and capacity for growth. Life's challenges are opportunities for transformation, and through faith and perseverance, you can overcome any obstacle. Embrace each moment as a chance to learn and evolve, and remember that you have the power to shape your own destiny. Your journey is unique, and every step forward is a victory worth celebrating. Those are words from Kim Sorrelle, everybody. Very true words indeed. All right, everyone. Thank you again, Kim, for being on the show. For everyone at home, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Pod My Noggin.
For media and sponsorship inquiries, email info@cksims.com or visit cksims.com and fill out the contact form. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode airs every Saturday. CKS Media.